Yo, welcome back. It's always your boy, Steven Moustaris, and this is the MMA Short Show. And guys, you know what? UFC 293 this weekend, to me, without Izzy on this card, it really does feel like just a glorified fight night. It feels like UFC Singapore and UFC France was just bigger than this, in my opinion. But Israel Adesanya is going to do his thing. He might be arguably, the number one superstar currently in the UFC. And, that's actually active and stuff. I mean, you can always say Conor and John Jones and stuff, but for people that are actually active, Sean O'Malley still got some things going on. But, to make this somewhat fun, I just watched the press conference, and thank God I watched it before this because, I would have been off on a few things just because I was a little shocked by a couple of things I watched on there, and I'll definitely get into it. But if you guys haven't watched it, definitely watch the UFC 293 press conference. It was pretty interesting for sure. And it made me a little more excited for this fight this fight card than I really was originally. And I want to make some fun out of this. And I'm going to do the top 5 questions that I got leading into UFC 293. And for number one, I got to start with Israel Adesanya here. He's the whole reason this is even a pay-per-view card. He's the king, he's the man, coming off one of the most viral clips ever. And my question for him is, can he capitalize off this Alex Pereira, little rivalry that they just had, and one of the most viral knockouts, one of the most mimicked, celebrations of all time, using Alex Pereira's, I probably got a picture right now. Everybody knows it, where he's shooting the arrows through him. Or my worry is, is he going to continue to superstardom and even, blow up even more and get another crazy knockout? Or what I'm worried about is I'm really worried this could be a really boring fight, and this could actually end up hurting Adesanya. So, I mean, I don't know what you guys are thinking. I'm pretty confident. It's probably the most confident I've been since Robert Whittaker lost to Dricus Du Plessis, even though I thought he was going to win. I don't see a way that Sean Strickland can get this done. And I have a lot of faith in Israel Adesanya here. But if we're being honest here, if we're looking back as fans and we're just being unbiased here and we're just looking at it from just a neutral standpoint, my one worry is with people that, don't really necessarily bring the fight to people, or especially somebody like Israel Adesanya. We've seen really boring fights. Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vettori. Good old, Yoel Romero, one of the most boring fights in the world. We've seen some, below average fights out of Adesanya because guess what? He is the champion. It's not all necessarily on him, but, we are kind of, we're pretty spoiled as fans, here in the late where, Anderson Silva, GSP, John Jones, some of the greatest people we've Rampage Jackson, all these guys that we've watched that we all fell in love with, they go for finishes, they get it done. And sometimes we get really boring fights out of Adesanya because of his opponents are, not willing to go in there. And there's a reason to that. If you're going to come out like a Paulo Costa, you're going to come out like an Alex Pereira, you're going to come out like all these guys that, bring the pressure, even like a Derek Brunson was trying to get the takedowns, or Robert Whittaker bringing the pressure, that's when Izzy's going to knock you out. That's it. Izzy's counting punches is one of the greatest ever. Dude's a striker through and through. He wants you to bring the pressure so he can just put that straight down the face and just knock you out. And that's the goal. So I am kind of worried a little bit that this could be a really boring fight, and I think this could hurt a little bit for just at least for Adesanya to take that next level of jump. He's an absolute superstar currently after that knockout of Alex Pereira. He's got this documentary coming out he's been real big on that I think is just going to be huge for his fan group. And, I really think this is his chance right here to really get a knockout or get a submission or whatever that he wants from Sean Strickland because he is way better than Sean Strickland. And this is it. This is the moment that he could really blow up. But I am worried that, a mediocre performance, another decent whatever, win over 5 rounds, unanimous decision, but still was that was super boring. He didn't take any chances, and neither did Strickland. I could see it being that this weekend, and I'm worried that might hurt him a little bit with 4 of his last, 5 opponents being kind of boring. And I don't know, but and then if you add a loss in there, oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine. So, there is a lot on the line here for Adesanya. I just think he gets it done so quick, and I think we're sitting here talking about, oh my gosh, what's next? Is he the greatest of all time? Is Dricus Du Plessis next? Is Khamzat Chimaev next? There is a lot of shit out there for him. So, I think his superstardom, guys, I'm telling you, it starts off with the Sean Strickland fight. He can sit back and say, wow, I carried this UFC 293, card. I'm the reason this was even a pay-per-view. Everybody got paid. You're welcome. You're lucky. All these things. And then come out in, the beginning of the next year after this whole, say Khamzat takes out Costa. Oh my gosh, could you imagine that fight? Put Dricus Du Plessis on the back burner. Then he goes out, say he beats Khamzat Chimaev. That right then and there is going to put him as the number one fighter ever on a lot of people's lists. Not just greatness, but most popular, everything. That would be one of the craziest fights UFC can make. And if he gets past that challenge, Oh my gosh! Then he beats up Dricus Du Plessis or something, or even vice versa. He beat Dricus Du Plessis first, and then gets Hamzat. If Hamzat loses to Costa or something, you never know. So I mean, I'm telling you guys, there's a chance that Adesanya here just takes off to another level, just another level that we didn't even think he could really get there. And we're going to be sitting here. Shouts out to Alex Pereira, like for revitalizing him and reinventing him. So. That's my number one. I think it's everybody's number one that we should be looking forward to. And then, honestly, after this press conference, guys, this might have been like my fourth or fifth like most wanted question out here, but for me now it's moved up to number 2. Like, we have to talk about it. He got way more love than I expected. Like, what are the scenes? What are the views? What is it going to be like? What is a world going to look like if Sean Strickland somehow beats Israel Adesanya? Like, seriously, guys, here I am thinking that most people hate Sean Strickland, think he's annoying or whatever, but in freaking Australia, in Sydney, where this press conference just was, this guy was getting more cheers and more applause and everything than Adesanya was. It was insane. I wasn't expecting it. And, I did write down earlier before I watched the press conference, like, I could see this being like a Colby Covington, situation where everybody hates Colby, but then certain things happen over the years. He connects with just that certain group of Americans, that white, blue-collared American type that, just out here throwing words, shooting guns, all these things. And, they just catch on, man, and they become famous. Like, look at Colby. He got a bigger, standing ovation than what Usman and Leon Edwards just had. So, I mean, this is what I'm feeling with Sean Strickland now, and all of a sudden, this guy's getting more not more boos, but getting more cheers and everything, and you hear more boos for Izzy than you were for Sean Strickland. So it's like, it kind of feels like people want to see this. I don't know if people hate Izzy that much. He's a little nerdy, anime type. There's been some weird things going on with some videos out there that I might not agree with certain animals and stuff, whatever. But, I'm not going to judge Izzy for who he is as a person. I'm here to judge him as a fighter. And that man's one of the greatest ever. And same with Sean Strickland. Like, definitely not close to one of the greatest ever or anything, but he is a very odd guy. I don't agree with him on a lot of things. But, like, if we're talking about his, in-cage and his in-octagon performances, the man's been phenomenal. So, for me, there's no way that I see him beating Izzy. Even if Izzy goes in here like Anderson Silva did against the first, Chael Sonnen fight or the Chris Weidman fight where he's, fucking around and, really looking past this guy. I still don't see a threat here from Sean Strickland. Like, I've never seen Sean Strickland start putting on the work and really turn up the power. But also, I didn't really see Max Holloway do that until he did it with a Korean Zombie. So, I mean, I guess, but Max Holloway is a god compared to what Sean Strickland is. So, like, he's not going to outstrike Adesanya. I don't think he's got the power to catch him with one strike to put him out or even to rock him or anything. Maybe the only thing is maybe check a couple leg kicks. And we saw, we've seen Adesanya, to be fair, it's Alex Pereira. We do know this, but we did see Adesanya did have some, some threats there to the leg and looked like he got injured pretty easy. But again, that's Alex Pereira who kicks super hard. But I just don't see Sean Strickland getting him to the ground. I just don't know. I don't see a path that Sean Strickland has for this fight. But, you can never count out anything in fighting. I didn't think Dricus Du Plessis had a chance at all against, Robert Whitaker, and look what happened. There's been so many times that we think people don't have a chance, and look what they do. They come out there. It's fighting. It's one of the most beautiful things ever. Adesanya, we've seen his off nights or more just boring nights because, he's like, hey, I'm the champion. Come to me. Like, and if the challenger's not going to come to him, he's willing to not have a fight there. Like, why would you? You're the champion. So, but the one thing on Sean Strickland's side, he could have Adesanya a little more emotional than usual. And the one thing with Adesanya that I don't like at all is just how scary, it is. It's different when you got these guys like when Mystic Mac was doing his thing, or Conor McGregor was doing his thing. When you guys got guys super dominant champions like John Jones or anybody calling their shots like that, it's a little different than hearing, like Tai Tuivasa coming out and saying, oh, I'm going to go for, I want my first submission or whatever against somebody. Like, it's a little different when it's somebody so good like, Izzy, but to hear him say he wants his first submission against Sean Strickland, like, that's kind of scary because he could open himself up for other things. But I just could not imagine a world Sean Strickland is champion, but I'm kind of down to see it, though. I really want to see how the chaos that night, him finishing or winning, because he's got to finish, I think. We're beating the shit out of Adesanya, whatever happens, say he does. I'm telling you guys, that would be some crazy shit, and I think his superstardom is going to go out of this world. I really think we'll be shocked at how popular the guy really is, but just more exposure to media, more wild statements, more people getting on his side. He's funny. He really is. He's got some funny jokes, but I don't know, man. I can't see it, but after seeing how much love this guy got in Sydney compared to Izzy, like, Come on, man. It's kind of impressive. You can't deny it. So, we're going to see for sure. I just don't think there's a single chance in hell that Sean Strickland gets it done, but you never know. So, and then, third question I got coming into this, it necessarily wasn't my, even in the top five, but if you guys watch this press conference, it's the only reason it wasn't in my top five now is because Kai Kara France pulled out on it, but Manel Kape coming back, finally for the first time since December of 2022, because all these guys keep pulling out. If you guys go look at this guy's, Tapology or Sherdog or whatever, if you guys look back, he's got at least 6 canceled fights in the last 2 years because people get hurt or pull out against him. He is kind of scary. I know his record's not the greatest ever, but for 125, he's got 3 straight knockouts. Looking for a fourth. He's got the only flying knee, knockout ever at 125. The dude is power. And I was really excited for the Kai Kara France fight, but now he's got some guy that just came off the Dana White Contender Series, I think, Felipe Dos Santos or something. It does feel like Manel Kape's going to probably look right past him like he's been doing. And at the press conference, he was throwing stuff at Kai Kara France. And then Izzy stood up to try to, get him to stop, and because they're teammates, as in Izzy and Kai Kara France. And literally, it's right between, I think Tai Tuivasa is the only one between Izzy and Manel Kape. But Manel Kape, 125, are over here 5'4", literally screaming at the top of his lungs at Izzy. And Izzy's holy shit, are you joking me? Sit the fuck down and be respectful. And he's like, no, you sit the hell down. Doesn't give a shit that he's however much bigger. And it was kind of cool. You got to have some respect for Manel Kape for this one. But if he goes out there and loses, Saturday, it's going to be pretty embarrassing. But this could be a big name at 125, since 125 up in the air now with Alexander Pantoja as champion. With Davis and Figueiredo not doing really his thing anymore at 125, kind of looking to move up. With Brandon Moreno losing a few times, I'm sure he'll get that fight again. But I'm telling you, 125, man, we're sitting here now. We got a lot of stacked people coming in here. And if Manel Kape can get a nasty knockout here and really get by this young kid that he should get by, man, I'm telling you guys, watch out. And this guy's he's good on the mic. I'm telling you, this guy's not afraid to say stuff. So, I think one point he called Izzy I don't even remember. I think it was a cartoon porn addiction or addict or something. It was something funny. It was pretty funny. I'm not going to lie to you. So, but, fourth question that I got going into this. What is this? Is this the end of the future of, the Australian / New Zealand, fighters, for at least the light heavyweights and heavyweights, man? We got Tyson Pedro on the card. We got Tai Tuivasa. Who else? We got Justin Tafa. And who else am I missing? I'm missing one other. And then Carlos Ulberg, all these guys, these bigger guys is the future of, of Australian or New Zealand fighting. This is a big moment for them. With Tai Tuivasa a couple years, literally just the beginning of last year with his knockout of Derek Lewis, looked like, hey, I might be, in that top 5, discussion. And then all of a sudden he loses back-to-back to luckily the top 2, I would say, other than Tom Aspinall, maybe the top 2 guys that there are to have right now. Loses to Cyril Gane and then loses to Sergey Pavlovich, which everybody's lost to them. So, you can't be too mad at Tai Tuivasa, but he's got a huge fight this weekend. I don't like the fight at all with Alexander Volkov. I just think Volkov's been looking good. He's back-to-back knockouts against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and I forget the other dude's name. I'm blank as shit. Some Russian. I always forget these guys' name, but finishes these guys within a minute or 2 minutes in each fight and looks phenomenal. Ever since that Tom Aspinall loss, Tom Aspinall looked phenomenal with one of the greatest takedowns, but Alexander Volkov's got some nasty teep kicks to the stomach. I feel like every time Tai Tuivasa gets kicked or hit in the stomach, he's always, every fight, you see him go, ooh, it looks like he's actually hurt to the stomach and everything. Could be possum, but I'm telling you, that guy gets hit in the stomach a lot, and there's some issues there. And I don't know, Volkov's huge and everything. So this would be an awesome night for shoeys. But Tyson Pedro, kind of the same thing. He'll get a win, get a loss, get a win, get a loss. Real good. If there's a finish, he's going to win, but the dude can't win if he doesn't get the finish. Literally, he's 100% finish rate, I think, but he does lose these certain fights. He's got a tough fight against Turgulch. Probably fucked his name, but that's for sure what it is. Carlos Ulberg, he's getting all this hype from, Izzy. And like I said, Justin Tafa. I don't know why they didn't have Junior Tafa on this one. He just fought 2 weeks ago. Why wouldn't you get him on there? Why wouldn't you get Dan Hooker on there? There's certain fights that I'm a little shocked that didn't make this card, but, if some of these guys lose, man, I don't know what's left. I mean, you got Izzy there forever, but Izzy, is he African? Is he New Zealand? I don't know if I can put him in there. I know he's in the same training camp type things with these guys, but, this is a huge moment for, it seems like every time in UFC, if we got UFC Singapore, UFC China, UFC London, it's always usually either the same team or, just all the local guys that try to get on the card. And, usually, I remember last year, I think it was the first London card out of the two they had. I think everybody from London won on the card. And Tom Aspinall, Paddy Pimblett, freaking Molly McCann. I think 5 or 6 people won on the fight card. It was one of the coolest moments ever. And we got UFC Noche next week, so a bunch of Mexicans are gonna be on the card. We do this all the time with the UFC, but this is a huge moment for the light heavyweights and heavyweights because we don't necessarily really see the smaller Australians or the smaller New Zealanders really fighting in the other than clearly Volkov or Volkanovski and good old Kai Kara France, but for the most part, it's really the heavier guys, and this is a huge moment this weekend. I'm just a little worried. I don't know if every single one of them are going to get it done, but if they do, this could be huge, especially for Tai Tuivasa. I feel like a big third loss in a row for him could be detrimental. Tyson Pedro, another loss, could be out of the UFC. It's all around. There's some big fights here. Justin Tafa, he could lose one real quick. I mean, he's got a real tough fight against Austin Lane. Carlos Olberg, he's right there about to get next past that, but it's I don't know, man. I'm pretty excited for it for sure. And then probably the last question, just one last note that I would definitely keep out as just as a fun little note and a fun little, just something for the fight card. Can Eugen Bareman and City Kickboxing go 6-0 this weekend? I think that would be pretty phenomenal. I mean, you got Israel Adesanya fighting for sure, Blood Diamond, Carlos Olberg, Shane Young, Tyson Pedro, and then I think it was the fifth guy, Kevin Jousset or something. I think he just got, signed to the UFC, and I think there's a really cool viral video out there of Eugen Bareman, announcing that he made the UFC, and I think he announced it by saying after him beating the hell out of Stylebender last week in training, and then called out Stylebender in front of everybody. It was kind of cool because that's the way you got to challenge these superstars, I would say. So, it's going to be cool to see if they can go 6-0. They could have went 7-0 if Kai Kara France didn't pull out. Could have been 8 or 9 chances. I know it doesn't make sense to have Volkanovski and Izzy on the same card, especially a UFC 293 card. If it's UFC 300 for sure, but you could have Dan Hooker or something on this fight card, or like I said, you could have Junior Tafa and Justin Tafa on the same card. They just fought a couple weeks ago, so But as always, your boy Steven Moustaris, guys. UFC 293. I'm not that crazy excited about it, but these are my top 5 questions that I just can't wait to be answered. And they clearly will be answered here in a couple of days. So you guys let me know what you feel. If you guys watch this whole thing, shouts out to y'all for real. So as your boy, as always, Steven Moustaris. And let's go, baby. Let's go.